25th of May, disaster hit a remote section of Papua New Guinea. Series of landslides, several people buried under the rubble. We got reports of 640, then we got reports of 2,000, and the exact numbers are still not known because as of today, the landslides have not stopped. The mountains are crumbling, rocks are moving, making it really difficult for relief and rescue operations to reach the spot to remove the debris and find people dead or alive beneath it. To talk to me more about the relief and rescue operations and the subsequent healthcare system that is going to be provided to the survivors, I have with me Col Sandeep Shaligram. He is the CEO and director of a chain of hospitals in Papua New Guinea called the Pacific International Hospitals. So my first question to you is, what action has your hospitals or have your hospitals taken in the as an immediate response to the landslides that have occurred?
See, we haven't. We have a team. We have a couple of teams ready with their stores and medicines and some specialized equipment. But unfortunately, the first responders are still at work because the access to the area needs to be restored before full-scale teams can be put in and an assessment is available as to what needs to be done. There is help available in the local area from the Pogera mine as well as the province of Enga. The provincial government is a very capable government under the capable leadership of Sir Peter Epitas, who has been instrumental in bringing the province to that level. So they are responding to the immediate issue. But the scale of the landslide and the debris which has fallen is something which is unfathomable by normal standards. Now, on the first assessment looks almost impossible to dig up the amount of earth that has collapsed and try to locate anything which anybody and possibility anybody surviving out of that whole thing is very remote. So the effort right now is being aimed at the survivors who are people who are injured or who are battling other illnesses and prevent any outbreak of a secondary illness in that area. So the government has responded. The defense forces and the primary responders right now are the police, the defense forces, and the immediate effort available in the surrounding areas. They are the ones who are responding. The weather is not very conducive. The area is not very conducive. The road link is not easy to. Plus, there is no infrastructure available for even the responders to be surviving in that area. So it is best that the uniformed forces, they are the first responders. So they are at it right now. The PNG government has made enormous help available. So has the Australian government has made help available in terms of their defense forces and some units which are activated. Even I'm told the Indian government has pledged a help of $1 million, which is quite significant. Yeah, so the area is very difficult. It's high mountains, obviously not high as the Himalayas, but these are high mountains in the range of 3,000 meters altitude and dense forests, not much of population, not much of infrastructure around. So the nearest hospital would be about, one can say, 150 kilometers from there, which is the Mount Hagen General Hospital. And the other smaller centers at Webag and Kompiam and these places, they are health centers, but they are possibly not equipped to take care of any mass casualties. Now, mass casualties, you don't have too many injuries or injured people reported from there, but retrieving the dead is not going to be easy. It may take a couple of months before they recover any bodies from there. Adverse weather is not helping.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead,
My
please.
God. No, a couple of months seems like a lot. But then, what you said is that, of course, there is a lot of coordination between the local authorities and, the people who are involved in the rescue efforts. And I'm sure even your people are. So what I would like to understand is, how are you ensuring the safety of your staff and your personnel who are trying to get to those areas for search and rescue?
We haven't deployed a team as yet. We have a team in Mount Hagen, which is one of the nearest big towns. Now they are ready with the medicines and the equipment and stuff. So they need to be provided some kind of a coordination by the defense forces and the police which is working there, because there isn't a place where you could go and stay. And and we so typically people who are equipped or self-contained for everything are the uniformed forces, but somebody has to ride on their backbone. Our teams expect to ride on their backbone to be able to go and perform there.
So, of course, the death toll remains uncertain, but and it's nearly a week since this has happened. Do you have any estimate, any idea? Can you give us a number of how many people would have lost their lives in this?
Uh,
Or is that a very
the number
insensitive question?
as of yesterday, what they have been able to home on is about 100 plus people who are missing, who are known to have been there on that particular day. Now these
Mm-hmm.
villages are remote places, and there hasn't been a exact record of how many people stay in these villages and places. So it will take a certain amount of time before a census can be drawn and they can confer how many people are missing or presumed buried under that avalanche, a mud avalanche.
There are there are also tribal displacements, and those issues are also there, I believe, right?
Yeah, that area is area which has been always bereft with a lot of tribal rivalries and tribal wars and
Yes.
inter-tribe issues. So that also makes things difficult. Even to help reaching that area is not easy.
So, why do you think this happened? This
There is no
landslide, this
particular reason.
unprecedented.
This seismic survey and all these departments have not been able to attribute it to earthquakes. There was an earthquake at the say, almost a concurrent earthquake, which was about 160 kilometers west of this place, and it was some 130 kilometers deep. But it isn't conclusive that it is because of the earthquake. These are limestone mountains which have happened due to folding in the sea, and the ridgeline of PNG has this Owen Stanley Range. Now, these limestone mountains, they do have a tree cover, but these are not very stable rocky mountains. So, any shakes or anything, and people haven't followed any scientific principle of constructing the villages or in the water flow areas or in a typical what you call the watersheds where tomorrow if there is an earthquake or there is a landslide, you're not in that wake of that path of that landslide. So these villages haven't been really scientifically occupied. So it isn't a very wide area, but typically people live on the slopes as per convenience, and these houses have all been buried there. It is estimated that there are about 400 to 500 houses in that area. So the predictive figures are based on 4 to 5 people per household, that kind of thing. Not necessarily. We would come to know in a couple of days what exactly is the head count.
No, they are calling it the one of the deadliest disasters ever in Papua New Guinea. And this, what you told me just now, people living on the slopes, unscientific construction, reminds me of Uttarakhand, what our own country witnessed a few years ago. So, would you say climate change has something to do with it, sir?
Not really. There hasn't been much effect of climate change in those areas. These are deep rainforest, devoid of any pollution. A lot of places nobody's ever been there, and human development hasn't really started affecting these places, other than a little bit of mining around and some logging. So there is a gold mine close to this place, not very close, really speaking, close in the sense within 50 to 100 kilometers, but that really doesn't account to climate change. So the tree cover is still there. It is just that these are unstable mountains, and it's not attributable to human development that there's a disturbance there.
So, it is a random seismic activity. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, and Enga is one of the most developed province in terms of education and awareness. The This is one province which has 600,000 people who speak one language, right? The largest group in Papua New Guinea, very interesting to know, there are 853 languages here. Yeah, so people who speak the same language are known as one talks. Wantoks, Wantoks. So they are a ethnic group or they are a social group. So Enga is one example, this province of Enga, where there's 600,000 people, the largest number of people who speak one language. They are the most developed in terms of education. A majority of bureaucrats, businessmen, government servants, you'll find a lot of them lawyers. They are all Engans.
Thank you so much. I mean, there's so much we don't know about Papua New Guinea, and you told us so much. Thank you very much. But let me ask you, as the CEO and director of a chain of hospitals, once relief and rehabilitation happens, once things kind of start limping back to normalcy, are you planning any way to build the local health infrastructure in those areas so that in case something like this happens, we are better prepared? People can be,
Yeah, we
at least places can be reached quicker.
Yeah, we do work with we being in the private sector, and we do have certain public-private partnerships. Like this very hospital, PIH is a public-private partnership. But at the same time, what happens is the primary responsibility still rests with the government. But we do have our public-private partnership through which we reach out to remote areas for specific work which cannot be done under the public system. Right? In this kind of cases, we do have what you call the telehealth systems, or what is the remote devices which provide you telehealth or telemedicine, where we could be having a specialist or a doctor sitting in a remote place and yet administer health services to people in remote places. So we do that, and also provide medicines and critical equipment to people working in those areas. So we generally have a team ready for doing that. But there is no specific plan for us to go into those remote areas, because we look at it as a business. Obviously, healthcare and the social service is a major agenda, but if there isn't any business there, we do go in there as a CSR and a welfare activity, and to help and assist the government agencies.
Sir, I'm sure a lot of my viewers are thinking what I'm thinking, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you anyway. How did how does an army man from India, a Colonel Sandeep Shaligram, how does he reach Papua New Guinea as the CEO of a chain of hospitals?
Interesting. That's interesting. When I was in the military, I had nothing to do with hospitals other than building and running the Hunder Hospital in the Siachen Glacier Brigade. That's a specialized high altitude. I used to be the AQ there of the brigade. 3.5 years in the glacier, and when I exited uniform at the age of about 45, I took a premature retirement as a colonel. And one of the things which I wanted to do was run things and do operations. So I landed up into hospital management, and I've been into this for the last 14 years now. I used to run a group of hospitals in India called Oyster and Pearl in Pune. And then this opportunity came up to come to Papua New Guinea. This was one of the places on earth which I had not been to. Like a good paratrooper, I said, another unknown drop zone, let's jump. So came up here. It's been 8 years now. Been here. Enjoyable place. Very warm people. They open with open arms. They welcome foreigners and people who have common aims of not really looking for a pursuit of profit, but a pursuit of helping people and serving people. They always welcome very friendly people, warm people. And obviously, this is still a developing country, and it has its own challenges. But it has been seen that the first world solutions don't work in a third world country. But people like me who come from India, they bring third world and the developing country solutions to developing countries that works better. Mm.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is definitely an interesting story. And 8 years you've been there, and you plan to continue, I think,
Yeah,
for
as
a
of you
few
know,
more
yes.
years.
Mm.
Right, right. I just hope that I mean, I was doing this interview not at a time when there was disaster in the country, But thank you very much for speaking to us. Thank you so much for taking out the time. And I do hope that, we can find as many survivors as possible and the number of deaths are less, and we can manage to rescue as many survivors as possible. And I wish you and your team all the best in that. And once again, thank you very much for speaking to us.